A shard of glass exploded against the far wall, the sound echoing the shattering of my own composure. Through the crack in the hospital room door, a voice, raw with desperation and fury, ripped through the sterile air. "Divorce! We have to get a divorce right now. Dad, how could you let me marry a man? An Alpha, my mortal enemy. Tell me the truth, did our family go bankrupt? Is that it? You sold your only son to settle a debt." Just hours before, my world had tilted on a different axis. I was in a different wing of this same hospital, the scent of antiseptic clinging to the air as a doctor peered at me over his glasses. My hands, slick with a cold sweat, were clenched in my lap. He spoke, and his words seemed to come from a great distance. The constant Norcer, the vomiting Euros trade s nutter gastric issue, Euros trade s morning sickness. Based on our tests, you are Euros trade well into your first trimester, over 3 months along. He paused, his gaze clinical but questioning. Why are you only coming in for an examination now? Where is your partner? Shouldn't a Euros trade he be with you? Have you separated? The questions hammered against me, each one a blow that made the room spin. A wave of sickness washed over me, hot and undeniable. I clamped a hand over my mouth, bile rising in my throat as I staggered to the restroom. It was a long time before the world stopped heaving, before I could look at my own pale reflection in the mirror. Pulling myself together, I walked back into the office, my voice tight. "Doctor, you must have made a mistake. Euros trade an Alpha, an S-class Alpha." He simply adjusted his spectacles, his expression unchanging. "I have no Euros trade misdiagnosed. S-class or not, biology has its quirks. With sufficient frequency and under specific conditions, even an Alpha can conceive. You and your partner you are Euros trade quite active, Arena Euros trade TU." My eyes darted away, a flush of heat creeping up my neck. Active was an understatement. For 3 years, Oliver had performed his duties as my benefactor with a relentless, almost punishing fervor, day and night. It was a means to humiliate me, to remind me of my place. The textbooks all said the probability of an Alpha pregnancy was infinitesimally small, a statistical anomaly. So I had been reckless. No precautions, no inhibitors. I never thought Euros trade be the one to win this impossible lottery. After mumbling my thanks to the doctor, I stumbled out into the corridor, my mind a complete blank. The crisp report in my hand felt alien, a document from someone else's Euros trade's life. I was still wrestling with the decision to call Oliver, to tell him this unbelievable news, when my phone buzzed with his name. But it was my Euros trade him on the line. The voice was frantic, breathless. It was his brother, Matthew. "Get to the city center inpatient department. Now." Oliver Euros he was in a car accident. He Euros trade's lost his memory. The walk from the obstetrics ward to the inpatient department was a journey through a nightmare. Each step felt heavy, disconnected. As I neared his room, Oliver Euros trade's best friend, Daniel, intercepted me, his face a grim mask. "Matthew, you need to brace yourself. Oliver took a nasty hit to the head, and his leg is injured. He has a concussion. He Euros trade's limping Euros, but the worst part is the amnesia. He doesn't Euros trade seem to recognize anyone. He might not even remember you." I could only nod, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. All I wanted was to see him, to assess the damage for myself. But as I moved toward the door, thought Euros trade's when I heard Euros the crash, the furious raw for a divorce. I froze, my hand hovering just inches from the handle. Inside, his father, James, sounded exhausted, his voice strained from the argument. Bankrupt. €1 trade to be ridiculous. Do you honestly think your mother and I wanted this? Do you think we approved of this marriage? You were the one who threw the tantrum of a lifetime 3 years ago, insisting you had to marry him. I broke your leg trying to stop you, and you ended up in this very same hospital ward. My breath hitched. Oliver Eurostrade's leg was broken euros for me. He had never said a word. I only remembered the 3-month period he vanished before he grudgingly flew abroad with me to sign the marriage papers. I had always assumed he was coerced, that his parents, who for some reason adored me, had forced his hand, that this marriage was his ultimate burden. Oliver Eurostrade's voice, thick with frustration, came again. He must have had a bandage wrapped around his head because he sounded muffled. Then that damn Alpha must have some kind of blackmail material on me. Dad, just get the money, whatever it costs, and get me out of this. I want a divorce. The thought of being near another Alpha Eurostrade's pheromones, living with Hemer Euros, it makes me want to vomit. Your Eurostrade V just stood by and let this happen for 3 whole years. James let out a bitter, humorless laugh. Stood by, let it happen, son. Every single time I visited you, you were practically Drake all over him. You, a proud alpha, reeking so strongly of another Marna Eurostrade's scent it was embarrassing. How did I raise such a spineless creature? What kind of leverage could possibly make me so pathetic? Oliver Eurostrade's voice cracked, descending into a desperate sob. I don't Eurostrade care. Whatever the price, I Eurostrade am getting divorced. Spending my entire life with my alpha arch-nemesis Euros I Eurostrade D rather die. Eater Eurostrade's disgusting. Utterly disgusting. My fingers tightened around the pregnancy report in my pocket, crinkling the paper. My body went rigid, a storm of conflicting emotions churning inside me. It was like a spice rack had been overturned in my heart. Euros bitterness, sorrow, confusion, and a strange hollow ache. So this was it, the end of our transactional relationship. And I was left alone with a tiny, nascent life inside me that I had no idea what to do with. My eyes burned with unshed tears. I smoothed out the crumpled report, then, with a surge of bleak resolve, balled it up again and tossed it into a nearby trash can. As I turned, my mind already calculating the logistics of a visit to the abortion clinic, a sudden weight clamped around my ankle. I looked down, bewildered. It was Oliver. He had crawled across the floor, his face smudged with dirt and tears, looking up at me like a lost puppy. Matthew, what are you doing here? His voice was small, hesitant. You are Eurostrade Euros, you are Eurostrade the only person I remember. Then, a flicker of his old, misinformed bravado returned. I heard my family went bankrupt. Is that why you are Eurostrade here? Did you marry me, your old enemy, to make me your plaything and humiliate me? Before I could process the sheer absurdity of his words, James stormed over and slapped him hard across the face. You ungrateful whelp! Our family is still on every rich list in the country. Don't Eurostrade you dare curse me. Oliver Eurostrade's injured leg made it impossible for him to fight back. He just clung to my leg for dear life, his face buried in my trousers. Matthew, don't Eurostrade leave me. You are Eurostrade the only one I remember. You have to protect me. Seeing this pathetic display, James landed another slap. You little monster. You Karna Euros trade T even remember your own father, but you remember this one, your sworn enemy. Your Euros trade V got some nerve, fearing his son would be beaten into a permanent vegetative state. I quickly stepped between them. Dad, Thartar Euros trade S enough. He Euros trade S injured. The word dad made Oliver Euros trade S head snap up, his eyes wide with utter confusion. Matthew, why did you call my father a circumflex Euros darter Euros trade? What is your relationship with him? His voice escalated into a panicked shriek. Dad, tell me he Euros trade S not my long-lost brother. Tell me right now. That was a last straw. Oliver earned a third slap that day. This one was from me. His screeching was so grating it made my own morning sickness flare up with a vengeance. Soon, the room emptied out, leaving just the two of us in the quiet aftermath. Oliver sat on the edge of his bed, head bowed, a picture of dejection. The fierce, angry man from moments ago had vanished, replaced by a lost boy. I swallowed down the persistent nausea and began cleaning up the broken glass. Once the floor was clear, I sat in a chair beside his bed. Are you all right? He had been yelling with such vigor, I assumed his injuries when our Euros trade T too severe. But as I drew closer, I saw that his shoulders were shaking. He was crying. In the 3 years I had known him as my benefactor, Oliver had always been a fortress of icy indifference. The only time he ever lost control was in the throes of passion. This was different. He reached out and grabbed my hand, his grip surprisingly strong, and the silent tears turned into ragged, uncontrollable sobs. Matthew, he choked out, even if I was forced into marrying an Alpha Euros, even if I Euros trade am not divorced yet Euros, even if I feel Euros tainted Euros, all I can think about is you. The only thing in my head is the memory of you when we were 16, pinning me to the ground and beating me until my nose bled. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Those were the cringeworthy memories from before my family Euros trade's downfall. Back then, Oliver and I were true rivals. We fought daily, a tangle of limbs and bruised egos. Of course, he was never much of a match for me. He rarely landed a decent punch. Shaking myself from the reverie, I grabbed a tissue and awkwardly wiped at his tears. What are you trying to say, bringing up that ancient history? He sat up straighter, a sudden, bizarre spark in his eyes. You were the top student in high school. You must be way richer than my bankrupt family now, right? You beat me up so badly back then Euros, so now you have to take me home and be responsible for me. I don't Euros trade T want my dad hitting me anymore. I want to be your kept man. A heavy sigh escaped me. My family went bankrupt a long time ago, Oliver, and I Euros trade am the Alfred you are Euros trade retorking about. The one who supposedly blackmailed you into this marriage. The one whose pheromones make you sick to your stomach. Oliver froze, his expression a comical picture of disbelief. His memory was truly stuck at 16, the peak of our mutual animosity. That was the year I presented as an S-class alpha, and the mere scent of my pheromones would send him running to the bathroom to heave for half an hour. His reaction infuriated me so much that I made it a point to beat him up every time our paths crossed. To tell him now, out of the blue, that we were married Euros, it was a shock to his system. I patted his shoulder gently, intending to give him a moment to process. But his shoulders began to twitch again, and then he erupted into wild, hysterical laughter. He wiped away fresh tears, his voice giddy. Matthew, are you trying to prank me? You, the proudest alpha Eurostrade V ever known, willing to marry me and be my wife. Do you honestly think Eurostrade D fall for such a ridiculous lie? You can't Eurostrade T stand me. You are Eurostrade Re just making up excuses because you don't Eurostrade T want to take responsibility for a poor, bankrupt boy like me. I rubbed my temples, a headache blooming behind my eyes. He had a point. An S-class alpha willingly submitting to another Euros, it sounded insane. 3 years ago, when my family Eurostrade S fortune evaporated, I was too proud to ask anyone for help. I threw myself into the entertainment industry, hoping to make quick money. It was fast, but it was also a Vipra Eurostrade S pit for someone with no connections. In less than 6 months, I was drugged 3 times and had my hotel room key swapped on 5 separate occasions. My self-control was formidable, and I managed to escape each time by a hairy Eurostrade S breadth. But the 6th time was different. The company swapped my inhibitors for a potent aphrodisiac and locked me in a penthouse suite during my rut. I was sure it was over for me. But the person who walked into that suite that night wasn't a Eurostrade T some lecherous producer. It was Oliver. He had just taken over the entertainment company, and someone had gift-wrapped his old nemesis and delivered him on a silver platter. But Oliver didn't Eurostrade T take advantage. His face was a thundercloud of fury. He just scooped up my feverish, disheveled body and rushed me to the hospital. Afterwards, he acquired the company I was with and systematically dismantled the career of the boss who had repeatedly tried to pimp me out. My agent, mistaking this for affection, sent me to Oliver Eurostrade S room during his own rut. He was delirious with fever and he kissed me. I was perfectly lucid, but I didn't Eurostrade T push him away. I simply closed my eyes and let it happen. From that night on, Oliver became my sugar daddy. He showered me with resources, introduced me to industry titans, and single-handedly elevated me from an unknown actor to a celebrated film emperor. He even helped my father Eurostrade S new, struggling company get on its feet. And somewhere along the way, we got married. He claimed his parents were pressuring him, and I just happened to be their preferred candidate. He bought me 3 sprawling villas in exchange for a marriage certificate. I can still picture the profound reluctance etched on his face the day we signed the papers. Thinking back to his father Eurostrade S words about how he Eurostrade D had his leg broken for this marriage, I reined in my impatience. "Oliver," I said, my voice strained, "what will it take for you to believe me?" He lifted his chin, a petulant look on his face. Kiss me, and I Eurostrade LL believe you." I hesitated. "Are you sure? I Eurostrade am a man, your sworn enemy, an alpha eater Eurostrade S going to be disgusting for you." He exploded. "Matthew, if you don't Eurostrade T have the guts to kiss me, just say so. Stop making excuses." His whining grated on my last nerve. I grabbed the back of his head and pressed my lips against his. The Oliver I knew was a skilled, dominant lover. This amnesiac version was a disaster. His kissing was clumsy, abysmal. He had no idea what to do with his tongue. In the sterile, disinfectant-scented air, a faint trace of his lime pheromones began to emerge. My stomach lurched violently. I shoved him away, scrambling for the bathroom, and began retching again. A moment later, Oliver hobbled in after me on his bad leg, his ears bright red, his eyes brimming with tears. "You are lying to me, Matthew. You are Eurostrade Re so disgusted you threw up. If I had really been with you for 3 years, I would have had you completely tamed by now. I was at a complete loss. After he calmed down, I gave him a light smack for his trouble and took him for a CT scan. The results, frustratingly, came back completely normal. With no physical cause for the amnesia, James had to temporarily take the reins of the company, leaving Oliver to recuperate in the hospital. I was assigned to be his caretaker, which meant taking a half-month leave from my current film project. In a way, it was a relief. My pregnancy symptoms were worsening by the day, and Oliver, with the emotional intelligence of a 16-year-old, was in no condition to discuss the monumental decision of whether or not to keep our child. His days were consumed by pestering me. Was the marriage real? Could he kiss me again? It was utterly exhausting. His kissing had neurostrade improved, and each attempt was a trial of my patience. But the $5 million monthly allowance was still being dutifully transferred to my account, so I had to play along. One afternoon, after another session of him sloppily mauling my face, I was at my breaking point. If it weren't our Eurostrade for his handsome face, I would have decked him. Farter Eurostrade enough, I said, trying to push him away. But my hands met skin that was burning hot. He suddenly pinned me down, his grip surprisingly strong, his voice cracking with panic. Matthew, why does it hurt so much today? Ir Eurostrade so hoter Euros help me. I froze. I had finally caught a break with his amnesia, and now this? His rut couldn't Eurostrade be coming already, could it? This was bad. I patted his head, trying to soothe him as I reached for the inhibitor in the bedside drawer. But just as my fingers brushed the box, the concentration of alpha pheromones in the air skyrocketed. A shiver ran down my spine, and my hand froze midair. I couldn't Eurostrade. I still had the baby to think about. Euros. The rest of my thought was swallowed by his desperate, feverish kiss. On the afternoon of the third day, I was woken by the sound of weeping. I found Oliver curled up in a corner of the room, his shoulders shaking with soft sobs. "What are you crying about now?" I asked, my own body aching as I climbed out of bed. He seemed physically fine, remarkably resilient, but my question only made him cry harder. My first €10, it was so messy. It just ended like that. I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. His condition showed no signs of improving, so the doctor suggested taking him home. A familiar environment, he argued, might help jog his memory. I agreed. Our villa was nestled halfway up a mountain in the southern suburbs, a place where every corner held a memory of our intertwined lives. But for Oliver, it was all a blank slate. I wheeled him through every room, from the sprawling living area to the master bedroom, but nothing sparked a hint of recognition. Finally, only one door remained, the storage room in the basement. Eater Eurostrade's got a password lock, he mumbled, a thoughtful frown on his face. You never let me go in there. A flash of irritation went through me. Our housekeeper, Nanny Wong, had once told me that room held mementos from Oliver Eurostrade's first love. She said he would go in with a dark expression and emerge looking cheerful and refreshed. I never knew which pampered Omega had been the object of his affection, but I always suspected that person must have looked a great deal like me. Why else would Oliver marry an alpha, if not for a face that reminded him of a lost love? We didn't Eurostrade open the door that day. That weekend, Daniel came to visit, bringing a gaggle of our old high school classmates with him. They were all close friends of Oliver Eurostrade, but he remembered none of them. They, in turn, were oblivious to our marital status and were completely floored by the revelation. "Wait, hold on," one of them stammered, pointing between us. "You are Eurostrade retelling us that a circumflex Euro's sister-in-law were Eurostrade. Oliver always refused to let us meet her. Euros is Matthew, his high school nemesis." Another one leaned in conspiratorially. "Oliver, if you are Eurostrade being blackmailed, just blink twice. We Eurostrade LL rescue you." Daniel just snorted. "Are you guys stupid? What kind of normal person gets beaten to a pulp by their sworn enemy every day and still grins like a lovesick fool while stealing their underwear?" "Hey, I was wrong. I take it back." A loud clatter silenced the room as the tray of coffee in my hands fell to the floor. All heads turned to me as I stormed over, hauled Oliver out of his wheelchair, and roared, "So it was you. You were the one stealing my toothbrush and my mouthwash cup every single day in high school. I had to buy new ones constantly." Oliver, still mentally 16, squirmed in my grip, sweating profusely. "What are you so upset about? War Eurostrade my wife now. Water Eurostrade yours is mine. And Water Eurostrade mine is yours." "Ouch. Honey, what are you doing?" A fresh red mark bloomed on his cheek. I clenched my fists, forced a tight smile at our stunned guests, and said through gritted teeth, "So sorry, everyone. We seem to be having a small family matter to attend to. Perhaps you can schedule another visit." They nodded frantically and scurried out of the house faster than a pack of startled rabbits. Once they were gone, I turned back to Oliver, a slow, predatory smile spreading across my face. "Eater Eurostrade's hunting time." I gave him a thorough, satisfying thrashing until his face was flushed and his neck was red. It felt good. At 26, he was all cool composure and aloof dominance. But at 16, he was putty in my hands. Afterwards, I pushed his wheelchair in front of the locked storage room. "Open it," I commanded coldly. I used to believe that as a kept man, I should maintain a professional distance from my benefactor. That was the past. Now, all I wanted was to know what secrets Oliver had been hiding from me for the last decade. He looked utterly aggrieved, pouting that he couldn't Eurostrade remember the password. But when I made him try, the door beeped and clicked open on the first attempt. The code was 0826. It wasn't his birthday, nor mine. It certainly wasn't our anniversary. I stared at him, demanding an explanation, but he just stammered and refused to say. "Fine," I clicked, pushing him into the pitch-black room. It felt like a crypt, hiding something shameful. I found a switch for a single desk lamp. The moment light flooded the small space, I gasped. The room was a museum of my life. It was filled with my personal effects, clippings from school newspapers featuring my face, old jerseys, forgotten textbooks. One by one, every item was mine. I dug out a pair of my old high school underwear from a box and shoved it in his face. "Why? Why would you steal this?" I don't Eurostrade understand the mind of a pervert. Oliver wouldn't Eurostrade meet my eyes, his head bowed in shame. Just like with the password, he refused to explain, trying to deflect with nervous jokes. I sneered, my mind racing. "Even if you don't Eurostrade tell me, I Eurostrade already figured it out. You didn't Eurostrade steal anything valuable. You only collected these personal trinkets euros." At this, he suddenly looked up, a flicker of desperate hope in his eyes. I met his gaze, my confidence surging. I had solved the puzzle. A circumflex euros because you wanted to curse me, to secretly disgust me. Iter euros trade s the same reason you insisted on marrying me. Even after your father broke your leg, you did it all to humiliate and torture me day in and day out. Even after losing your memory, that deep-seated hatred remains. Am I right, Oliver? I raised an eyebrow, genuinely impressed with my own deductive reasoning. But the reaction I got was no Eurostrade T1 of a cornered villain. Oliver Eurostrade's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then his face crumpled and he started to cry. In all the years I've Eurostrade D known him, I've Eurostrade D never seen him like this. For the first time ever, he pushed me away, his voice a raw, wounded raw. Yes, I hate you, Matthew. I hate you so much I want to ruin your life. Are you happy now, you heartless bastard? I will never, ever forgive you. He wheeled himself out of that secret room, a broken and pathetic figure. For the next 3 days, he gave me the silent treatment. No more clumsy kisses, no more rubbing his pheromones all over me like a territorial cat. His dark secret had been exposed, and he had completely shut down. I didn't Eurostrade T want to cuddle him, but he was still my benefactor, so I continued to help him with his daily needs: euros dressing, bathing, eating. He wore a perpetually cold expression, as if he Eurostrade D aged 10 years overnight. This icy standoff lasted until the morning of the 3rd day, when our doorbell rang. An Omega stood on our doorstep, asking to see Oliver. When he saw me, he froze, and I felt my own blood run cold. It was like looking into a distorted mirror. He had my eyes, my brow line, even the same slight curve to his lips. He recovered first, a smug smile playing on his face. You must be Oliver Eurostrade's friend. I've Eurostrade am his ex-boyfriend. Would you mind letting me in to see him? His pheromones were sickly sweet, but his words were a sledgehammer to my gut. Ex-boyfriend? When? High school? College? In the 3 years we had been married? The questions swirled in my head, but I couldn't Eurostrade T voice them. The Omega wrinkled his delicate nose. Sir, there are Eurostrade s a proper distance between alphas and omegas. I don't Eurostrade T believe we Eurostrade re close enough for such personal questions, are we? My lips twitched into a humorless smile. He was right. Besides a sham marriage certificate, what right did I have to ask? I stepped aside and told him Oliver was upstairs. He was gone for an hour and a half, from 8:30 to 10. It felt like a century. I sat numbly in front of the television, my mind a whirlwind of worst-case scenarios. If Oliver asked for a divorce, I would quit my job and raise this child on my own. The money he Eurostrade D given me over the years, combined with my own earnings, was more than enough. We didn't Eurostrade T need him. We would be fine. But even as I told myself this, a sharp, stabbing pain lanced through my chest, making it hard to breathe. I finally pushed myself up, needing fresh air. But before I could reach the door, a loud clatter echoed from the 2nd floor. A moment later, Oliver came crawling out of the bedroom, sobbing his heart out. I couldn't Eurostrade T leave him like that. I strode over, scooped him up in my arms, and asked coldly, what are Eurostrade s wrong? Did you have a fight with your ex-boyfriend? He burrowed into my chest, pounding his fists against me in frustration. He Eurostrade s not my ex-boyfriend, he wailed. He Eurostrade s just some gold-digging lunatic. How could you let someone like that in here to slander me? Is it because you want to divorce me? His hysterics left me completely bewildered. I finally thought to call Daniel and ask about the Omega. He vaguely recalled him. Oh, that guy. He used to work at Oliver Euro's Trade-S company. Oliver hired him because he looked a little bit like you. But the guy was ambitious, tried to steal company secrets, and got fired. After hanging up, I had the bodyguards escort the Omega off the property. A wave of guilt washed over me. Oliver was still clinging to me, his crying unabated. Matthew, how could you think I would cheat on you? Ir Euros trade v Bina Euros since high schooler Euros. His words trailed off into a pained gasp. Waiter Euros, why are you so hot? I broke off my apology and pressed a hand to his forehead. It was burning. His entire body was radiating an unnatural heat. Buter Euros, your heat just ended a few days ago. Eater Euros Trade-S your fault, he accused, his voice thick. You let that Omega in here. He was maliciously releasing his pheromones to trigger me. He wrapped his arms around my neck, his scent growing stronger, more desperate. My own alpha instincts screamed danger. I tried to push him away, covering the sensitive gland on the back of my neck. Oliver, Donna Euros Trade T. We Euros Trade V never marked each other. Not once. Even at our most intimate, that was a line we never crossed. A mark was a bond, a claim. Our relationship was transactional, not territorial. Sleeping with me was one thing, but marking me was out of the question. He swallowed hard, his eyes glassy with need. Just one bite. Please. Ir Euros Trade M, not an Omega. Biting me 1 Euros Trade T do anything for you. But he was a better actor than I ever was. His long lashes fluttered and fat tears welled up in his eyes. But you let that Omega upset me Euros, and now Ir Euros Trade M suffering so much Euros. Please, honey. I was powerless against him. In the end, I let him try. As expected, it was futile. Alpha biology is designed for resistance against other alphas. No matter how many times he tried, the mark wouldn't Euros Trade T take. The 2-week vacation from my responsibilities came to an abrupt end. My agent called, summoning me back to the film set. I took a dose of anti-norsare medication, entrusted the still sulking Oliver to a caregiver, and covered the faint teeth marks on my neck before heading back to work. The director informed me that a misaligned kissing scene we had shot earlier needed a retake. It looked too fake on the big screen, he explained. He was right. As the crew set up the scene, my co-star, William, arrived. He was a beater, so he couldn't Euros Trade T smell the chaotic mix of pheromones clinging to me. But as he leaned in, he whispered, "Bro, your lips are all chapped." I stiffened. That was Oliver Euros Trade-S handiwork from the night before. I pursed my lips, trying to ignore the sting, as the director barked instructions. Just as I looked up to meet William Euros Trade-S gaze for the take, my eyes locked with a pair of intensely gloomy ones across the set. Oliver, sitting in his wheelchair, his stare was like a physical blow. A knot of guilt tightened in my stomach. I tried to look away, but it was too late. Right there, in front of the entire cast and crew, he burst into a flood of tears. The good news was that 16-year-old Oliver Euros Trade-S only weapon was crying. I probably wouldn't Euros Trade T be locked in a room for 3 days. The bad news was that the rumor mill went into overdrive. No one on set, save for my manager, knew about my relationship with Oliver. Whispers erupted all around me. Why is Mr. Faye crying like that? Nowhere Euros did William, the new hotshot, really sleep his way to the top with Mr. Faye. Look at them. One are euros trade s an alpha, the other a euros trade s a beater. One a euros trade s an established film emperor, the other is a rising star. Eater euros trade s obvious who Mr. Faye is crying over. Oh man, Matthew is toast. He just kissed Oliver Fair euros trade s little canary on set. He euros trade s going to be blacklisted by tomorrow. The gossip made my head spin. After the scene wrapped, I tried to take the crybaby home, but the director grabbed my arm. Matthew, you just took a 2-week leave. You want to pay the penalty fee. You are euros trade coming to the investor dinner. He clearly believed the rumors and let William go, but William insisted he had nothing better to do and tagged along with me. On the way, I texted the caregiver to take Oliver home, but I got no reply. Distracted, I barely noticed where we were going until we entered the private room. My blood ran cold. The man sitting in the seat of honor was my first boss, Henry euros, the man Oliver had blacklisted and ruined years ago. Long time no see, Matthew, he sneered, his eyes filled with malice. I heard your sugar daddy had a little accident. Were euros trade s going to protect you now? Our euros trade v waited a long time for this day. I rolled my eyes and turned to leave, but the director blocked my path. Just a few drinks, Matthew. Give me some face. He had clearly been bored. Our euros trade am not drinking, I said flatly. I couldn't euros trade tea risk it. Not now. Henry stood up and smashed a wine glass at my feet. Today, you are euros trade re-drinking these 3 bottles of Beiju, even if I have to pour them down your throat myself. 3 bottles? William gasped beside me. That could kill someone. You are euros trade re-insane. Henry just laughed. So what? He dared to offend me. He should have expected this. His sugar daddy is a vegetable now. No one can save you. Who said our euros trade am a vegetable? A new voice, cold and dripping with authority, cut through the tension. My hand, which had been dialing the police, froze. I turned around. There stood Oliver, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, no wheelchair in sight. He nodded slightly at me, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Baby, come here. Every drop of blood in my body turned to ice. 16-year-old Oliver would never call me that. Only the 26-year-old, decisive, terrifyingly possessive Oliver called me that. Usually when he was seething with anger. In the car on the way home, he took my hand. His fingers were cold. Baby, are you cold? Why are you shaking? How could I tell him that while he was efficiently and brutally dealing with Henry and his cronies, he had also made a point to subtly intimidate William. He was clearly still furious about the kissing scene. I swallowed hard, trying to change the subject. How are euros? How did you get your memory back? And your letter euros eater euros trade s better? Judging by your tone, you are euros trade d prefer I hadn't euros trade t, he said, his voice clipped. You have that little film scene to thank for shocking me back to my senses. As for the letter euros, he scoffed. Eater euros trade s been healed for weeks. He was just faking it to get your sympathy. Couldn't a euros trade t you tell? His words were a thunderclap. A circumflex euros he euros trade. What do you mean, a circumflex euros he euros trade? Oliver, you were sick. You had amnesia. You are euros trade re not euros. You are euros trade re not actually jealous of yourself. Are you? The car glided to a stop in our courtyard. He didn't euros trade t answer, just tugged me out of the car with a sullen look. Letter euros trade s talk inside. Remembering the last time he was this angry, I shuddered and pulled my hand away. No, we Euros trade LL talk out here. We Euros trade LL clear the air before we go inside. Fine. He turned to the driver. Get out. And don't Euros trade T let anyone else come out of the house. I was so screwed. The courtyard fell into a deathly silence. Baby, he began, his voice dangerously soft as he stepped closer. You had a wonderful time playing with a circumflex Euros Hemer Euros trade while I was gone. Didn't a Euros trade TU? His hand came up, his fingers precisely covering the spot on the back of my neck. He gritted his teeth. Here, our Euros trade V never even touched this place. And you let him bite it. Baby, I gasped, trying to distract him. It was the first time in 3 years I had called him that. It worked for a moment, but halfway through our reconciliation later that night, his jealousy flared again. Baby, has he been here? In this bed? Matthew, answer me. Tears of pure frustration welled in his eyes. He bit your gland. He marked you, but you never marked him back. So are Euros. If you mark me now, it will be a unique first for us. What kind of insane, twisted logic was that? Later that night, caught in the heat of the moment, I almost let it slip. The word baby was on the tip of my tongue, but this time, I meant our baby. Oliver, however, heard it and immediately frowned. Why would you bring up something like that? Eater Euros trade s a hassle. I Karna Euros trade T stand children. From 1 to 16. Fair Euros trade re just noisy, troublesome creatures. I instinctively covered my stomach. The confession died in my throat. The next day, his father James came over to formally hand the company reins back to Oliver. They were in the study for hours. Finally, James called for me, saying he wanted a private word. Oliver stood in front of me like a protective bulldog, ready to get another beating from his father to shield me. I had to gently pull him aside before following James into the study. He placed a thick stack of documents on the desk between us. His expression was grave. These, he said, tapping the papers, are all the financial holes I found while I was in charge. Holes that your husband, that foolish boy, has been secretly filling for your father Euros Trade's new company for the past half year. Your daughter Euros Trade's startup is a bottomless pit. He calls Oliver for money every other week. Did you know about any of this? I shook my head, numb. I casually flipped through a few pages of the financial reports, a litany of massive wire transfers. My hands began to tremble. Millions upon millions of dollars poured into a failing enterprise, all without a single word to me. Oliver had never mentioned it, not once.